Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Shin Kim. This is actually sixth class of the United States history. Uh, when actually USA or 13 colony uh, was established by the Britain. During that time, the main actually race, main person, main nation, main people actually coming from the Britain, and they called the Anglo-Saxon. Look at the picture. All of them, they are white. Okay, white. And the Anglo-Saxons were cultural group who inhabited England in the early Middle Age. So uh, during actually the colonization and also the independence, the majority of the population in the United States, they are Anglo-Saxon. And when actually USA was born, actually it was a white-dominated country, also male-oriented country. And one more thing is Protestant-centered country. Okay, three things: white guys, white race. Okay, and instead of the including the women, actually men-oriented country, and also even though there is a separation state and religion, but usually in the early stage of the USA was actually Protestantism. Instead of the Roman Catholic Church, Protestantism actually had dominated in the early stage of the USA. And when USA was born in 1776, actually citizenship, actually these kinds of person, they were not included as a citizen. That means they have no voting right. Okay, number one is woman. Yeah, woman was still during that time, 250 years ago. They, unfortunately, women's, they are not person. They are property to man. Maybe in other class, I'm gonna dealing with the women's right movement. Okay, feminism. I'm gonna dealing with that. Number two, African American. They are not citizen. Okay, long time ago. So today I'm focusing on African American, relating to the slavery issue. I'm gonna dealing with that. That is today's main topic. Number three, Native Indians. They still actually they no longer actually accepted as a person, and through the first class of the USA history, I'm dealing with their actually status. But today I'm mainly focusing on African Americans. And slavery. Usually, yeah, African Americans, okay, African American, they living in Africa. So you may see the map, and there is upper side Europe. Europe, the continent of Europe, comparing to the Africa or North America or South America, Europe is extremely small land, okay? But what is surprising, that small continent actually dominate for a long time, dominate over Africa, Latin America, or even North America or Asia, and they colonized all over the world. Even though, Europe is extremely small country, okay? And African black actually brought to Jamestown, beginning of slavery in Virginia colony in 1619. This is actually the first actually import from Africa to North America in 1619. Okay, because during the early year of the USA, North America at the time, main business is actually based on the agriculture, farming. Okay, raising some cotton and the tobacco. Yeah, they actually raised the tobacco and cotton, made it and export to the Europe. Okay, so usually farming and the agriculture, they require a lot of hands, a lot of labor. in California, it seems like a dry area, but little bit we go up to the middle or northern area of the California. Actually, there are great farming. Okay, so California is one of the agricultural state of the United States. So usually agriculture, as I said, require a lot of labor. That means they need a lot of people who working on the farming. That's why the first reason why so many Africans actually coming to North America and South America, that is that because of the agriculture. Okay, agriculture, farming, raised some vegetable. It actually requires so many people. That's why. That's the actually starting point. And slavery actually trade actually become an important part of American economy because they are one person, one African American. Okay, they actually captured a lot of African and brought them to the North or South America, and they sell it. It become business. It becomes they can earn so much money. Okay, that's why. North actually agree at the time. North part of the USA actually agreed that there is no tax on slave. The same thing, okay. South actually also USA agreed that there was no export duty. That means no tax. Even though they purchasing or selling, purchasing African slave, nobody actually pay any tax. Tax issue is extremely important, as I said. Though one of the biggest reason why independence revolution, independence movement broke out, the biggest reason is the tax problem. Okay, so but long time ago, actually USA was born at that time. Even though they purchasing a lot of African slave, actually there was no tax selling, and so we understand that whenever we buy something, we pay tax around 7 to 9%. Okay, you buy something $100, but in your receipt you may see the 110 because around 9 or 8% is tax. Tax is a huge one. Okay, but during long time ago, when they slavery trade, actually nobody pay any tax. It becomes huge business. Without tax, actually they make a lot of money. Try to look at the map. Or the light below side is Africa, and some Africans were exported to Europe, but the number is a little bit low. Okay, but the biggest number actually going to Brazil. Look at the map. Okay, around 3 million Africans they were captured and they were moved to Brazil. And another second biggest number is another Caribbean, maybe including the some Mexico. Almost also another 3 million Africans was sold out in that area. So many Africans actually coming to North and South America. So even we in the early stage of the South America, we know the Mexican. Okay, there are so many Mexicans living in California, and we may see them. They neither white, they also nor African. Okay, they are Mexicans. Okay, but as we know, so many actually Africans living in South America, or even also in North America, including USA. Many actually African American they living in here. That was actually the starting point of slavery issue, and United States around 300,000 slavery actually came. They were moved here, and they were sold as a slave. But a little bit later, They made a family and also raised their children, and almost 4 or 5 million actually slaves. Even though only 300,000 Africans were moved to United States, but little time went out. Actually, they also have family, and around 4 or 5 million actually African slaves actually lived around 2 or 300 years ago. That's the starting point. But the abolitionism means actually anti-slavery movement, okay? Anti-slavery movement. Especially in 1688, Quaker. This is one of the religious Protestant religious group, okay? Quaker, Moravians, Mennonite. Maybe if we are not familiar to these kinds of Protestant religious group, because they are not big group. But even though they are minority in Protestantism, but we should remember Quaker, especially when you go to the supermarket, you may see the Quaker oatmeal, Quaker cereals. You may see them, okay? Whenever you went to whenever you go to the supermarket, you may purchase this one. Even these kinds of oatmeal and cereals. I also enjoy these kinds of oatmeal and cereal. Sometimes for the breakfast I ate it, okay? But Quaker, this name actually coming the religious group called Quaker, okay? Moravians and the Mennonite. Usually they are living in the east side, especially Pennsylvania. They actually keep their tradition, okay? Keep their tradition 500 years ago from some people actually coming from the Germany. Still they living in that culture. So in Pennsylvania, actually they are anti-slavery, okay? Anti-slavery movement. And they wrote 2 pages condemnation of the slave practice. They hate. They believe that all human beings are equal, okay? Regardless color, skin color, everybody, okay? Including the Anglo-Saxon. Not only Anglo-Saxon is the children of God, but African American, even Asians, Native Indians, everybody are the children of God. We are equally created by God. They believe that. Now, in the modern perspective, we easily accepting that. But long time ago, 300 or 400 years ago, their thinking is so different. Okay, that's why. But these guys, this religious group called Quaker, Moravian, Mennonite, they from long time ago, they already accepting everybody is equal, and they level against the slavery system. They initiate the process of banning slavery in the society with France and Pennsylvania. So it seems like Pennsylvania is a free state. They don't have any slave. Even though some slave were moved to in that area as a slave, they freed Africans. Okay, from today, you are free. We are equal to each other. So the Pennsylvania is one of the first state who actually initiate anti-slavery movement. And the Society for the Relief for Free Negroes Unlawfully Held in Bondage was the first African abolition society. Okay, abolition means anti-slavery. Okay, anti-slavery society formed April 1775, before, even 1 year before the independence, in Philadelphia by Quakers, who had a strong religious objection. I object slavery. I hate slavery. And as soon as actually they purchased some slavery from the southern area, they made them free, okay? They already did it. So the first actually abolition movement was done by actually Quaker Moravian Mennonite. So that's why I love Quaker. I love Quakers oatmeal and cereals because yeah, they believe that everybody is equal. But when actually looking back the all the history of USA, even in 1820, there was Missouri Compromise, Missouri deals. Actually, look at the map. There is red part and green part. It seems like even though USA was one nation, okay, one nation. Definitely USA is one nation, not two nation, okay. But whenever I see the map of the USA, it seems like more than two countries. So when you look at the red part, including from the Illinois to Maine, okay, that is a red part. So when you look at the map, red means free state. They never accepting slavery system. But when you look at the green part, from the Missouri to the Georgia, okay, Virginia, that actually green part, that is a slave state. That means they purchased so many African and made them slave, okay, made them slave. So through the Missouri Compromise in 1820, they actually admitted Missouri as a slave state. Missouri, look at the MO. MO is Missouri, okay? It is has a border with Illinois. Illinois is a free state, but Missouri is a little bit complex the area. But finally, through the Missouri Compromise, Missouri accepting slave, and all the territory north of 30 would become free state. As I said, red color, they are free state. But all territory south of that latitude would become slave state. Southern area actually holding slave, but northern area they anti-slavery. Now, other parts actually still not included in the USA in 8020. Maybe through the next other class, I'm going to explain about. There was, as I said, there was only 13 states when USA was born, but it expanded. It actually going to the west, finally reached to the Pacific actually ocean, from Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. Maybe I'm gonna explain how USA expand their territory, but that's not today's topic. Just focusing on red part and green part. It seems like even USA was one nation, but it seems like there are two nations, especially in the issue of slavery. Okay, that's actually one of the important things. And in 1850, there are another compromise. Actually, it actually compromised a little bit now from the comparing to previous map. Actually, USA extended their territory, finally reached to California. That's why. So compromise in 1850. Admitted California as a free state. Yeah, we are living in California from the beginning of the California. Actually, it is a free state. California governor never accept any slave. Yeah, that's hooray. Okay, good thing because we are living in California now. California is a free state, and organized Utah and New Mexico without restriction on slave. So Utah and New Mexico color is a little bit red, and as we see now green. Green color is a free state. They never accepting any slavery. But yellow state is they actually accepting slavery. Okay, slavery. We love slavery. We need slavery. Okay, but only Utah and New Mexico in 1850 actually they don't actually decide anything. So it depends on the person, okay? So, and adjusted Texas and the North Mexico border. Yeah, look at the map. Mexico, New Mexico and Texas. Texas is one of the biggest state supporting slavery, and established a tougher fugitive slave law, especially in the southern area when the slave run away. Okay, and the owner of a slave actually they follow the slave, even the slave actually move to the free state, but the owner of the slave actually they can purchase and arrest him and actually get back them to their original homes. So that means the fugitive slave law. It is extremely hard because in the southern area, Africans they are property, okay, property. So as soon as a slave run away, that means a slave was stolen. So the owner has authority to possess that running away slave. That's why. And each passage was held as a solution to the threat of the nation division. Because of the one of the biggest issue why northern and the southern area has been divided is slavery issue. So as I said, it seems like look at the map again. Yeah, it seems like there are two another country, green country and the yellow country, because of the slavery issue. And division between the north and south because of a slavery issue. Southern white, okay, Anglo-Saxons, actually expansion of slave. We need a slave. So it little bit actually in the southern area from the Texas to the Virginia, okay. Northerner, they are anti-slavery. So it is a starting point of a civil war. Finally, North and South, actually, they were divided by two countries, and finally they have a war, and they kill a lot of people. And in the 1850s, 11 states decide to leave the country or secede. That means they are finally, including the Texas to the Virginia, little bit pink area, they have their one country, okay. We are independent. We establish another country from United States, and finally they have their one nation. So finally, USA was divided by two actually countries. That actually one of the ignition of the election of President Abraham Lincoln actually. And again, look at the map. Blue is free state, and pink is slave state, and yellow part is territory open to slave. The governor, they didn't decide anything. So and anybody wanted to hold the slave, it's okay. If you are the anti-slavery, it's okay too also. So they didn't actually decide anything. Especially look at the Indian territory, okay, Indian territory and Kansas territory. Especially look at the Kansas, okay, Kansas territory. It is located near to the Missouri and also near to the Free State. So this Kansas territory little bit later become the battlefield between North and South. So focus on it, where actually Kansas is located, okay? Finally, as I said, the Kansas and Nebraska Act in 1854 repealed the Missouri Compromise. That means they rejecting a Missouri Compromise and popular sovereignty. Actually, through the vote of the people, actually they determine whether Kansas and Nebraska would be slave or free state. Just remember, through the previous map, actually Kansas and Nebraska, they don't decide, okay? They neither belong to the free state, they nor also belong to the slavery state, okay? They in that area actually they have freedom. The people actually, the white guys, they have their freedom. But even southern area actually ask Kansas, hey, join to southern area, and also northern area actually, hey, Kansas, join us. So it seems like the Kansas, especially the state of Kansas, was in some critical actually situation. So finally there was war between northern and the southern area. Finally they have a war in Kansas. That's why it called Bleeding Kansas. The first before actually civil war, actually Kansas become the battlefield between the north and south, okay? Bleeding Kansas given to the Kansas territory before the civil war. So look at the picture. It seems like there Missouri send army, and also northern area send there also army, and there was a war. They shooting to each other, and because Missouri is a slave state, and northern states actually they are anti-slavery state. So both of them send army, and there was a war in Kansas. That's called actually Kansas-Nebraska Act. The territory was a battleground between pro-slavery and anti-slavery forces. So as I said, the picture actually exactly showing the situation of Kansas, okay? From southern area, from also northern area, they send army there, and Kansas become the battlefield, and many people also die because of this war. And there was Dred Scott versus Stanford case in 1857. You may see the picture, and there is a African American. Actually, his name is Dred Scott. Actually, he was a slave in Missouri. Missouri was a slavery holding state. Okay, Dred Scott. He was a slave, African American. Actually, Dred Scott sued against his owner, John Sanford. Left white guy is John Sanford, for his freedom. Actually, Dred Scott, African American, actually claimed that his 4 years actually stay in free land. Actually, yeah, following his owner, another owner, okay, another white owner. He actually stayed in Illinois and Wisconsin for 4 years. There was a free state, and he believed that I am free because I'm living in free state. That's why Dred Scott sued against his owner, John Stanford. But the result was tragic to Dred Scott. USA Supreme Court decided Dred Scott could not sue in federal court because he is a property, not a citizen. We can imagine it. Long time ago, Africans, they were property. They are not human beings. They don't have any human right. Okay, you remember that. So because actually he is property by white owner, so he didn't have any right to sue against his owner. So Supreme Court actually they reject his suing case. So that means, unfortunately, Dred Scott becomes slave until his death. This is one of the symbol, okay, one of the symbols case. But abolitionist movement, that means anti-slavery movement, okay. The movement to outlaw slavery, which made up of white and African Americans, and there are actually so many white Americans, they agree freedom of African Americans. So one of the person is Frederick Douglass, John Brown, and Harriet Beecher Stowe. Maybe many of you, Uncle Tom's Cabin. This book is extremely famous book, okay? Uncle Tom's Cabin. Even, yeah, this book was translated into Korean language, and when I was elementary school, actually, I read this book. This book actually describes miserable life of African slave in the United States. They have no freedom. Even as soon as they have a baby, they were grown. Their children were sold to another owner. The slavery system actually break the family system of the African Americans. And Uncle Tom's Cabin. Maybe in your country, this book also, I believe that this book was translated into your own language. If you get any chance, try to read this book. This book is a symbol of abolition movement. This book portrayed slavery as a great moral evil. This is evil, okay? Evil should be removed from American society. Finally, two nations was divided cause of secession. That means division. Two countries, okay, two countries in 1860s. You may see the blue. Blue is Union State. The previous name is United States of America, but because of the slavery issue, actually southern area from Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Missouri, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. These 11 states getting together, and they made a nation called Federate State. They made their own law. They separate itself from USA and compose a Federate State. And the northern part, blue part, is called Union State. They finally divide to each other. It seems like there was two nations. But Abraham Lincoln was elected as a president in 1860. But southern people, they recognize that Abraham Lincoln will free African as a freed slave. That means the southern area, they going to losing their whole property. So yeah, people are sensitive about their property, including money. As I said, one of the main reasons of independence from England, tax problem. Britain government charge a lot of tax, and residents in the North America, they should pay a lot of money. So usually, yeah, everybody actually hates tax. Okay, we don't know how to pay tax. It looks like stealing money from my pocket by the government. But the same thing. Southern people actually thinks that the slavery is their property, and free slavery means they losing their property. That's why, as soon as Abraham Lincoln was elected as a new president, actually 11 southern states actually divide themselves and formed the Federate State, and they cited it as their reason for succeeding the election of the president whose opinion and purpose are hostile to slavery. Yeah, southern people exactly knows the Abraham Lincoln's thinking. One of the promise of Abraham Lincoln, chose me as a president. I'll free slave. That's actually one of the first promise done by Abraham Lincoln. As soon as Abraham Lincoln was elected as a new president, southern people actually recognized that, and they believe that Abraham Lincoln stealing their property. That means slave from their home. They knew it. So that's why that is the starting point of a war. And before the actually war, actually look at the resources of the north and south. Look at the screen and the resource 1860s north and south. We may see the railroad, factories, monies, iron, and guns. It seems like a north part, okay, anti-slavery state. They are more richer than south, okay. Railroad, almost 2 times longer. Factories, almost 5 times more factories in north. And even money. Northern government has more money than south. And iron, with the iron they made a gun, okay, cannon. And more than 10 times more than southern area, 10 times more guns and cannons. It seems like north is more stronger than the south. We can figure it out. And north is more factories, more railroad, more telegraph wire, more actually labor force. Southern area is a farming area. It's agricultural area. And they need a slave. And they raise a lot of cotton. And there are a lot of rivers in here. So the interesting and the industry is totally different, okay. Northern area is a factory centered, but the south area is farming centered, and that's why they need a lot of labor, including African American slavery. And finally they broken the war, and there was Anaconda Plan by the north. Anaconda is big snake, and the 3 part of 1860 Union strategy of defeated the South. One of the plan is blocking 3 sides from actually the Pacific to the southern area and also the west, including the west area. They blocking like the Anaconda. So they blockade the southern ports. So, and also cut the Mississippi River in half. And that means they blocking every route for actually commuting and import and export. Actually, yeah, even in the modern world, whenever there is war, they blocking the route, they blocking the ship, they blocking the airplane. So now there is war between the Ukraine and Russia. And one of the first thing that done by the Russia is they blocking harbor in Ukraine. Ukraine actually they export a lot of agricultural stuff throughout the world, including the wheat, okay. But Russia actually blocking the harbor, and that's why there is a shortage of food now. So it seems like whenever there is war, it is the same thing happen, okay? They blocking the harbor, they blocking the airports, they blocking the actually river. They actually cut down the route, every economical route. So at the time, Confederate southern state, actually the capital city is Richmond in Virginia. So they made the Anaconda Plan by the northern actually state, and Lincoln actually Emancipation Proclamation, that is freedom of slavery. Lincoln freed all slaves in state that has seceded. He had no power to enforce the law. Through the previous actually class, I'm explaining about Constitution of United States, American political system, and as I said, the state has a state law and the federal government has a federal law. But during that time, even the time of the Abraham Lincoln, still state law is more stronger than federal law. That's why even though Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States, he has no power to enforce the law, especially anti-slavery, freedom of slavery. Even he proclaimed that But certain area, certain state, they never accepting that. This is a little bit short one, Emancipation Proclamation. So if you have any time, try to read it. And 4 years civil war between the North and South. Civil war began primarily as a result of a long-state controversy of the enslavement of black people. It broke out in April 1861 after Abraham Lincoln had been inaugurated as the President of the United States. As soon as he became the President, there was war. And the Confederate state in the South, Southern government actually advocate for state right to upholding slavery. So you may look at the picture, and their right side is USA flag, and the left side flag is Confederate state. How many stars in Confederate state? 11, because 11 states joining in Confederate in the South. So their flag are different. Now, unfortunately, there was war, and there are a lot of killing to each other. So many people die because of the civil war. So 4 years of civil war. So blue part, northern, purple part, southern. And the Union capital city is Washington, D.C., and the Southern Confederate capital is Richmond. And between their actually border, there are a lot of war. And one of the big actually battle is called the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863. There are actually around 19,000 soldiers on the battle in north part, and 76,000 on the actually southern part. There was a war, Gettysburg, 3 days. Okay, it were only lasted for 3 days, and the North won the war. It considered Battle of Gettysburg considered a turning point of the Civil War. Civil War ended in 1865. Around 700,000 people died. Yeah, unfortunately, whenever there is a war, so many people die. And even in modern war in Russia, there is no more army. So the Putin actually, they by the law actually getting the army by force, and now so many people joining the war. If they die, the family becomes sad, angry. Yeah, war is always tragic. Okay, with the Union victory, northern part, the country remained whole. Finally, the northern part won the war. And you may look at the picture. Right side is the north, and the little bit gray side, the left side is the southern. And it seems like north won the war. And you may figure it out. Usually the southern army, almost 100% they are white. But when you look at detailedly, northern part, so many African Americans, they joining the war because it is directly related to their freedom. That's why so many African Americans joining in the war, and finally they won. And even there was a hymn of the Republic. I don't want to explain about this one, but you may remember actually Julia composed this song. And when Abraham Lincoln first heard of the song, he cried out with tears. And when we try to look at this actually hymn, the first line is, "Mine eye have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." And you may see in the middle chorus, "Glory, glory, hallelujah, glory, glory, hallelujah." So it seems like even though the issue of the slavery, there was war, but it seems like also religious war. And Abraham Lincoln, he was a sincere Christian and give the freedom to all people. That is connected to the glory of God. That's why even better hymn actually including some religious idea. So glory, glory to the Lord. Okay, hallelujah. And after the war, there was a construction, reconstruction. And whenever there is war, so many, as I said, so many people died, all the building was destroyed, and there is also wound between the north and the south. So that's why we need a reconstruction plan. Unfortunately, when the North won the war, but Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. He died. He dead by one of the person in the southern area. He actually assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Federal government agency established to aid 4 million emancipated slavery, around 4 million slavery, as they transitioned to freedom. You are free finally. And also established the Freedmen Bureau and passed the civil rights law, provide school education for African Americans, education, Medicare, marriage certificate, because they no longer property by the white owner. They become the free men. Okay, that's why federal government give the education, Medicare, and the marriage certificate. So definitely we need some also harmony between the north and south. And there was several law, civil war amendment in 1865 through the 13th Amendment freed all slave, abolished slavery. In 1868, 14th Amendment, it granted full citizenship, finally give the citizenship to all native born or naturalized Africans, including former slave and immigrant. Finally, African American, they have a right to vote. Just imagine that during that time, even white women, they didn't have any voting right. Wow! Before the white women, actually African, that actually also voting right limited to also African American male, okay, not including African American women's, only men. African American men, they have a right to vote. In 1869, 15th Amendment, actually no one could be denied the right to vote on accounting of car, race, color, or having been a slave. Everybody is. So after Civil War, they have actually renewed the war law and give some free actually right to African Americans. But all of us, even after Civil War, even African American, they have freedom. But we know still there was black code. That law passed by the southern area that limited the right of African Americans. So look at the picture. White guys, they are called KKK. They actually invade during the nighttime. They invade the African American house and they burning the house and captured some African American hang on the tree. Okay, still, even though after Civil War in the southern area, still there is hatred against the African American. So the southern area, in order to restore the old way, southern people actually try to keep their tradition. So they passed a code, limited African American occupation, that actually only servants or farm laborers. Only African American, even though they got the freedom, they become the farmer or a servant. That's all. They can have their own job like that. And number two, in some state in southern area, African American were prohibited from owning that. They cannot become the owner of the land. Still, there is some restriction in to the African Americans. So today, through the today's lesson, actually we learn about the civil war, but we still recognize that even African American get the freedom, but still their freedom has been limited. Maybe through the another class, maybe I can explain about civil rights movement. And thanks to listening to my lecture, and see you next time. Thank you.